Well, thank you all for joining us. Since this is a smaller audience than we originally had, Patrick, I don't know. So I'll open it up to the crowd actually. So do you have any specific questions, or would you just like an overview of the e-marketing? If Patrick were just to go over the platform itself, what exactly would you like to be reviewed?
If you could go over an overview and maybe if that sparks some questions for us.
Sure, we could do that. And hey guys, hey Vicky and Luke, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
And we did have another attendee come in, Kim. So I'm gonna move you over to panelists since we have a small audience, and then that way you can turn on your video and your mic. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an overview of, and Luke said overview as well. Perfect. So we're going to do an overview of the e-marketing, and if any questions come up, please feel free to turn on your mic and ask questions, or you can put it in chat, whatever is easier for you. We want to make this as beneficial as possible, and again, since it's a small audience, we can really answer a lot of your questions. So. All right, Patrick, it's all you.
All right, thanks, Erica. Okay, so I'll begin with sharing my screen real quick. All right, so to begin with, how do you access e-marketing, and what can e-marketing be used for? Let me actually start off with that, sorry. Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome to the e-marketing overview. What we'll be doing in this session, I'm going to talk about the support options, who you can reach out to for support. The module will cover an overview. Of course, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, so you can ignore some of the stuff that's mentioned in there. I actually prepared for this as a full-fledged training for e-marketing. And after today's training, you will be able to do the following, of course. You'll be able to navigate and understand key C-event and e-marketing terminology. You should be able to create a campaign and emails. You can set up semi-private request alerts. You can run and save and export reports, of course. All right. So support options available by phone, Monday through Friday, 24 hours a day, of course, and they can be reached at this number displayed on my screen. And option 7 is for e-marketing, or you can reach out to us via the support community through portal cases. So once you've logged into Cvent, and if you don't know how to access the community, I can showcase that in a moment. But once you're in the Cvent community, you can use the blue button titled New Case to click and open a new case. All right. Well, these were some of the questions that I had from the previous session. So I can go over these once again. If you guys have similar questions, obviously you could post them in the chat, or you can ask me directly, and I'd be happy to answer them. So I don't really have much on my PowerPoint slides, so I'll be switching over to my screen share of the Cvent system. All right, so how you can access the community, first off, you see this little question mark after logging into the Cvent system. You can click on that. Help and support and Cvent community, they both take you pretty much to the same place. So when you click Cvent community, this actually gives you a few other options, such as you're able to post questions within the community, and other industry experts, plus experts from Cvent are able to answer your questions as well. If you would like to reach out to us by creating a case, you can go to My Cases, and once you're on the screen, let's just wait for it to load. There we go. We have the new case option. Any existing cases you may have created in the past will show up here. Since I personally haven't created any cases, so there are none for me right now. And yeah, of course, when you click on help and support, you get to a similar page where you have a search box right at the top, and you're able to type your question in and hit search. There we go. So if you have questions about e-marketing, just type in your question and hit search, and you can get your results. You'll be getting a bunch of results, and then you can filter out which ones you need using the filters on the left. Okay, so how do we access e-marketing now? We head over to the app switcher icon on the top right, and then click on e-marketing from the drop-down menu that opens up. So when you click on e-marketing, this is the first screen that you get to within the e-marketing system, where you're able to see a calendar view of any scheduled emails, of course, past and present and future for that specific month. You can switch between months to see if there are any other emails scheduled for the future months. You're able to see a quick view of how many emails were sent by week. Of course, everyone, all the chapters use this. Well, most chapters use it. So whatever overview, or rather the quick view that you see of the email sent by week, is for all the chapters as a whole and not your specific chapter. But you have a few options if you know what your campaign is called. If you've created a campaign in e-marketing, then you can select emails sent by campaign, and you'll be able to see a quick view of how many emails were sent for each campaign. Of course, it's only a quick view. If you want to see extended reports, you can head over to the report section at the bottom left from the menu. And from the overview screen, you're able to create, you can search for emails, you can view the emails list by clicking the emails link on the top left, or you can create a campaign or just a plain email that you'd like to send out to your invitees or future prospects. Any questions so far? All right. So the next tab available within the e-marketing system is campaigns. Now this tab will allow you to create a campaign in case you want to add multiple emails to a specific campaign and you want to use it over and over. It would be a good idea to create a campaign for yourself. It's easy to identify as well because you can give it a unique name, and any other members of your team from the same chapter can actually put all their emails in the same campaign or create a different one if required. A quick overview of the campaign screen. This shows you how many emails are part of each campaign that have been created by other users, of course. And you can click into the campaign to either view or edit further details about each campaign. All right, so I'm just going to show you how to create a new campaign real quick. From the campaign screen, click on Create Campaign. So when you're creating a new campaign, you have two options. You can either copy an existing campaign if you just want the settings to roll over, or you can create a new blank campaign from scratch. I'll be, for the purpose of this training, I'll be creating a new blank campaign. So I go next, give my campaign a name. Oops. I guess my keyboard is still malfunctioning. Sorry about that. Okay. Whether the campaign is active or not, you can select that here. Internal note can be added. This will not be visible to any of your invitees who receive the email. This is only for backend purposes. If there are multiple people on your team that are managing the campaign, you might want to add a quick note for them to refer to. You can select, you can enter the first name that will be visible to the invitees when the email gets sent out, the from last name. And of course, the email address that will be visible to them once the email is sent out. Now, please note that there is a drop-down to select the email. If you don't find the email that you wish to select as the from email address, please reach out to your admin, and they should be able to add any new emails that do not currently exist in the list. Now, once the email has been added, it of course needs to be verified by the user managing the inbox, and that's when you would be able to see that email in the list within the dropdown. All right, so once I've made my selections, I can go next. Once I've updated the necessary information, I can go next. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, there's one other thing. If you'd like to pull in some information, let's say from a specific portion or section within the account with the help of data tags, you can select the data tag option. For that, you need to click this little button right next to the field. Now, data tags, if you're not aware, these are smart tags that automatically pull up information from a different place. For instance, when you're using an event, or rather when you've created a registration event and you add all your invitees to the list, to the attendee list, you are able to send them emails and customize it by using data tags to pull in their name and company information automatically. The planner name and email that's been added within the event information section can also be pulled with the help of data tags. So that's what data tags do. They are smart tags that will automatically pull up information from a different section within another region of your account. So over here, you've got specific options. You can either select favorite tags. There are none that are marked as favorite. Recently used tags. If any tags that have been used recently will come up here. Any account level data tags, any campaign custom fields that you may have created, or custom contact fields that you may have created apart from the standard ones. Erica, I'm so sorry, but my Zoom seems to be stuck, and I'm not able to access the chat. So if you could please just copy the questions that are coming in the Zoom chat and send them to me on Teams, and I can address them at the end of the training session.
I can, Patrick, it's just me writing. I'm just letting everyone know that we're moving people from attendees to panelists. So
okay.
they ask questions. So it's just me writing.
All right.
I'll let
Oh,
you know
I'm sorry.
the
Okay, yeah, my Zoom's stuck, so I can't see what's in there.
Of course, no problem.
All right. So yeah, once you've updated the necessary information, you can go next. Now you've got certain settings for the email to be set up. If let's say you've created an email for a specific and added it to a specific campaign, then you can add some default settings within the campaign itself that will apply to all emails that are associated to the campaign that you're creating. So the settings are, if you would like to include a permission reminder, and if you would like to know what exactly this setting does, you could simply hover over the question mark right next to it, which will tell you what the setting is for. So this basically includes the recipient's subscribed list for the email, and it helps them remember why they're receiving an email from you. And this will also remind them as to how they gave permission to you to email them. And enabling this setting kind of helps prevent your email address from being blocked or the invitees opting out of receiving emails from you in the future. So you've got two options. You can either include it in the header or in the footer, or you could just not include it. The email format, the recommended setting has already been selected, which should always be HTML and plain text, unless you're planning to send a plain text email only, in which case I would suggest select plain text. And you will notice that the moment I switch from HTML and plain text to plain text, the options, the settings change. So if it's HTML and plain text, you're able to enable a click tracking link for the HTML email. This will allow you to run a report and check how many emails that were sent were actually opened versus ones that were not opened, and if there were any hyperlinks within your email, if someone did actually click within those links in the email or not. However, if you didn't, yes.
What?
Hello.
Quick question. Between
Sure.
HTML and plain text and the plain text option, does that have any effect historically on email filtering? Like, does one or the other get through at a higher rate like on email spam filters? Does that question make sense?
Not necessarily, Luke, unless you've actually got a lot of spam words in your email content, or if you've got a lot of images. And the good thing is about the e-marketing system, not just e-marketing, but any emails that you create within Cvent. Once you finish creating the event, you actually get a preview screen that shows you a rating of how likely is the email going to go to spam, and it will also give you a rating between 1 to 10, with 10 of course being the most likely that the email will end up in spam. So you will get a spam rating as well after you create the email. The system automatically analyzes and identifies any spam words that you may have used in your email content, or if you've added too many images, then it kind of gives you a rating, which helps you identify, okay, whether you should consider changing your content or not. But there, to answer your first question, sorry, there is no difference in the HTML and plain text, and the one does not have a higher deliverability rate over the other, unless you've got a lot of images in an HTML email. Then of course the plain text version would have a higher deliverability rate, because it depends on the person who's receiving the email, what email client they're using. It depends on their settings and their spam filters. How advanced are their spam filters or their spam settings that actually filter the emails from getting delivered to their inbox completely. Right? I hope that makes sense.
Yep, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, when I select plain text, however, then the setting to include the click tracking link disappears. The next setting is include an opt-out link. If you want your invitees to opt out of receiving further emails from you, you can include a link either in the header or within the footer. This can come in handy because they will then not report it as spam. And if they opt out, any future emails that are sent from the Cvent e-marketing system or the event management system, if the invitee is opted out, then they will not receive any emails in the future. That email will just not get sent out, and when you run a report, you'll be able to see that information that if you sent an email to, let's say, 100 people, and of those 100, 10 were opted out, only 90 emails would have gone out. So to figure out which 10 people did not receive the email, you'll have to run the report and see which 10 people are missing. Then you can simply go into their contact record from the app switcher section, click on contacts if you have access to that section. Find the invitee from the contact section by searching for their name or email address, and when their name appears, you'll be able to see opted out listed next to their name or email. And if you don't see it on the screen right away, you simply need to click on the invitee's name, and when you get inside their contact record to view detailed information, you will see an opted out. You will see that contact being marked as opted out. All right, so if you want to include your company contact information in the footer, you can say yes or no to that setting. It's really simple. Any information updated under planner company will automatically be included in the footer if the setting is set to yes. You can add the company name as well right here, and address as well if required. All right, so once all this information is updated and the setting is set to yes, the company name will, of course, and contact information, if any, will be included in the footer. If you do not want to include this, however, it's optional. You could just say no, and it will not show up. The final setting under this section is activate a web page version of this email. Now, sometimes the email client may not render the email correctly. Despite allowing pictures, they may have a slow connection. The images may not load. In which case, if you enable the setting, a web page version of this email, there will be a link within the email to view that specific email in your device's browser, whether it's your phone or Android tablet or an iPad. Within the email, you'll be able to see that link and click on that link to view a web page version of that specific email. Okay, and then on the next screen, you can associate distribution lists. Distribution lists are created at the admin level under contacts. So if you don't have access to this contacts tab, you can reach out to your admin and they can help you create distribution lists. Of course, you will need the list of contacts that need to be associated to the distribution list before you're able to create one. So if you want to associate existing distribution lists to your specific campaign, or if you've created a new one after you've created it, you start creating your campaign, you can associate the distribution list or not. And once you've associated it, you can click on finish and create email. I'm not going to click finish because this will create another campaign, and I don't really want to do that right now. I just wanted to showcase how you can do it. So you can finish and you can start creating your email right away. Or if you're not ready to create your email yet, you could simply click save and finish, which will only create the campaign and associate the distribution list to that specific campaign. You could always come back later and create the email and associate to your campaign at any point in time. All right, so once the campaigns are created, you can head over to the email section. Creating emails is really easy. It's not too difficult. You can see a lot of emails that have been created, and all the time you will actually be able to see all the emails that are created within this account by other chapters as well. So if you're having a hard time trying to find an email you may have created in the past, you could always search for it. If you know what the name of the email was, or if it was associated to a specific campaign that you've created, then you can filter it out with the help of the drop down at the top that allows you to select specific campaigns. Of course, you can only select only one campaign at a time. So if you would like to create or view emails from multiple campaigns, you'll have to do that one by one. Right, so before we create the email, there are some default email settings. If you're not associating your email to a campaign, then you can update your default email settings. And please note that these default settings will apply to all emails that are not associated to any campaign in the account. So what I mean to say by this is that emails created by other users will also be affected by the default email settings. So for HFMA users, I would not recommend updating the default email settings at all, because this will impact all users' existing and future emails that are created. So it's best to actually create the email from scratch if you're not associating it to any specific campaign. And you can then select your email settings on the screens that come up on the next pages. And when you click the create email button, you'll be able to see a few options. You can create a new email from scratch, which is this option, create a new blank email. You can copy the content from an account template. So a template that may have been previously created and saved within the HFMA account library, you should be able to copy that over. If you have created an email in the past and you want the formatting to be copied over or any of the email settings to be copied over, then you can select the third setting, which is copy an existing email. And when you do that, you're able to select which campaign is your email associated to. If it's not associated to any campaign, you can select no campaign, and then wait for the screen to refresh. Select which email you would like to copy, and once you've selected the correct email, go next. The final setting is create a new email from a CVEN template. So there are some templates that are created by CVEN as well, as you can see in the example below on my screen. It has a nice look and feel to it. There's a header added at the top. There's no footer image, but it has a nice background. Of course, you can change the theme if you require, but this will simply allow you to use one of the CVEN templates to format and create your email. For the purpose of this training, I will be selecting create a new blank email so you can see what creating an email from scratch looks like. Now, once you've come to the second step, you'll be able to configure the settings of this email. If you have in the past created a campaign, but you don't remember, or if you're not able to find the campaign from the list of campaigns on the left menu, then you can always select it here as well. As you can see, the drop-down has quite a few campaigns. You can try and find it here, or you can go back to the campaigns list and search for it if you can't seem to remember the name. Whether this email is active or not can be selected from here. You can give this email a subject line that will be visible to the recipients of this email. Associate the campaign, of course, select the from first name and the from last name that will be visible to your recipients. And of course, the from email that should be visible, or rather that the email should be going out from. Again, we have an internal note section. This is so if multiple people from your team are working on creating these emails, then you can add an internal note for the other person to look at. The final setting is use the default format for non-campaign emails. You can let that be as yes, or if you say no, then the default email settings that were selected that were created for all emails will not be used, and you'll be able to update your own settings. And when the moment you say no to this, you'll see some additional settings. Well, actually, no, these are the additional settings that are available always. HTML and plain text, whether it needs to be a plain text email only. And not to worry, if you don't really see this information now, you should be able to update them later as well. Once you've created the email, you can still go back into the email and change the settings, the advanced settings that appear. The last thing that I'd like to talk about here is additional email addresses that will receive this email. This is to ensure that if a specific invitee's contact record that you're trying to send the email to has an alternate email added in the form of a CC email address, and you want to ensure that if any emails that you send out are sent, or rather delivered to the recipient's alternate email address as well, then you can select this box, and any emails that are sent out to your recipients, they will automatically receive two. One email will be to their primary email address, and the second email would be to their CC or alternate email address that's updated in their contact record. Just a small thing I'd like to clarify here, that if you're sending this email to, let's say, 10 recipients, and all of them have an alternate or a CC email address updated, then they would each receive two emails addressed only to them. The first person would not be able to see what email was sent to the other person or their email addresses. Of course, the content would be the same, so they would only receive it themselves. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that one person would not know who else has received the same email unless someone actually forwards it to them. And when I select no as the default format for non-campaign emails, you have the ability to configure some additional settings. If you don't want to go by the default that's already been set up, then you can change them to plain text, disable click tracking, and enable or disable a web page version of the email. Okay, once all the required fields and settings have been updated, you can go next. Now, this is where you would actually create your email. As you can see, this is the HTML content only. When we go to the next screen, you'll be able to create a plain text version of this email. And please remember that when you're creating a new email from scratch, if you copy anything from a Word document, any text, and put it in here, you will be copying a lot of junk text as well. Junk coding, that is, that will make the formatting of your email go haywire, and it will look rather absurd. So it is my recommendation that when creating a new email from scratch, and if you do want to copy paste content over, copy the content from wherever you're doing it, put it in a notepad first, as in paste it in a notepad first. That will strip it of all the formatting. And that is when you can actually copy the text from the notepad and then put it in this box directly. So just to show you an example, what the dummy text would look like. So I've copied some text from a random website page. And I'm going to put it in a notepad first, and then I put it here. As you can see in the HTML tab, there is absolutely no junk. Whatever you copied and pasted has come through without any junk coding or any additional formatting. However, if you copy it from a Word document, I know you're not able to see my entire screen. I'm only sharing my browser, but I just copied some text over from a Word document, and it did give me a pop-up. The content you're trying to paste has MS Word formatting. Would you like to clean it? You can click OK, or if the pop-up does not come up, or if you accidentally click cancel, as you can see in the HTML tab, a lot of junk coding got added on its own, which will mess up the formatting and the spacing of your email, right? As you can see, there is HTML coding that got added automatically due to the Word documents formatting. However, if you click OK, this will strip it of all the formatting, and you can see that none of the junk coding exists anymore, and that has been stripped automatically. A third tab at the bottom allows you to see a preview of the email that you've created. You can go back to the design tab and edit it if you'd like. There is no character limit as such. If you wanted to have an email that had up to 10,000 characters, you could easily do that. You can change the font from here by selecting from the drop down. If you would like to use a different font type, then you can, of course, use custom fonts as well. But please remember that if you're using a custom font, the recipient's computer may not necessarily always have that custom font installed on their computer. So as a backup, the email will be converted to Arial when it's sent out if the selected font is not supported on the recipient's computer or device. So once you've created your email, if you'd like to insert any additional information in here from, let's say, one of the events, then you can click on the Insert tab. For example, if you wanted to include, let's say, the event title or the start date and the end date for a specific event because you're trying to send a save the date email, then you can use the Insert Data Tag option from the Insert tab. If you wanted to hyperlink a certain text within the content, you can simply select the text, click on Hyperlink Manager, and add the URL to the text over here. The moment you click OK and you update the link and click OK, you'll see that the text gets hyperlinked. Of course, there is no link. I simply clicked OK. There's just HTTP in there. So it does hyperlink it, but it won't really be a clickable link when you send your email. And now I'm going to show you how to insert information from your event into your e-marketing email. So we click on the Insert tab and then the Insert Data Tag option. From the category dropdown, scroll down to Event and wait for the page to refresh. Once you've done that, if you're sending a save the date email, it would be a good idea to include a link to add this to their calendar as well, so they're actually able to save it. And in order to do this, what you would need to do is you will need the event code of the email you're trying to add. Now, how exactly can you find your event code? For that, you need to go back to Events. And if you know what event it is, you can search for it or use the search function on the top from the navigation bar. Now, this is the event code. It's an alphanumeric code that is unique for every event. You can just copy it over. Go back to your e-marketing email, click on the data tag option, select event from the dropdown, paste the code in here in the box and click on apply code. And once you do that, you'll notice that the code automatically appears over here. Before that, it said event code. And then this box will be enabled. Before that, you will not be able to click the box or check it. However, since I've added the code and I've applied it, I am able to check the box and click OK. This will automatically include an add to calendar URL link for the event whose code has been updated within the data tag. Similarly, other information can be added as well. If you wanted to, let's say, add the event title in there and select event from the dropdown, scroll further down, look for the end date or the start date. You will still need the code for each of these options. Paste the code in, click on apply, scroll down and click OK. And this will ensure that your event related information gets pulled up automatically with the help of these data tags. And once you've created your HTML email, you can go next. Before we walk through the plain text version, do you guys have any questions? All right, great. So when creating the plain text email, you have a few options. You could simply click the copy from HTML email button at the bottom, wait for the page to refresh, and you'll see that a plain text version of the HTML formatted email automatically gets added. I had hyperlinked the word simply, and that is displayed in parentheses next to the word. The calendar link will also come up with the help of the data tag. But if you do not really wish to use that option and you've already copied or created a plain text version of your email, you can simply paste it in here if required. And you don't have to worry about copying from a Word document or an external source, because the plain text box will automatically strip it of all formatting, and you won't really need to worry about any junk coding going in there, because this is just the plain text version of the email. If you wanted to add any additional data tags in here in the plain text version, you could do that. Or if you're creating only a plain text version of the email, then this would come in handy as well. Now, once you've updated the content, click on Save and Finish. And this was the screen I was referring to, Luke. If you, for your question, when you get to the preview screen, this gives you an analysis and a risk assessment of how likely is the email going to go to the spam or the junk folder. Currently, my email just has some plain text in it, so the rating is 0. And yeah. Additionally, what you can do is from the send email drop down at the top, you can test send to yourself if you are the user logged in at the moment. However, if you wish to send it to send a test email to another person on your team, then you can select test send to someone else. If they're an account user, you can let this drop down stay as account user and try and find them by clicking the 3 dots. Or if you simply want to type in their email address, select email from the drop down, and you're able to type their email in manually. Once you do that and click confirm test send, the email will get sent to the test recipient. And there are a couple of other things on the preview tab at the bottom. So the HTML content preview is displayed here, as well as a plain text version of it as well. If you remember, we updated the settings to include an opt-out link. This is how it would display when the email gets sent out. Similarly, for the plain text version, because I just typed in the event code in fact, pasted it, that is showing within the plain text version. And if I'd like to see what it would look like when I print it out, I have a button to kind of print that out and check it. All right, so let me try and show you what the email would look like when it arrives. Okay, if you guys are able to see my screen, you can see that the title says HTML test, followed by save the date, which was the subject line that I had updated while creating the email. The email address that I had used in the dropdown is showing up as a from email, and the from name as well. Apart from that, it shows me the content of the email. This is an HTML email, so Of course, the link will not work because there's nothing hyperlinked, but I did add an add to calendar link to my email. So with the help of the data tag. So when I click on it, you will not be able to see any information because it's only a test email. So one thing to remember, that when you're sending test emails to either yourself or your colleagues, any links within the email will not work. A test email is only to try and see what the email formatting would look like when you actually send it out to your recipients. Any questions so far? All right, I guess not.
Where I have a question where it said expired,
Oh,
is that on
sure.
your end or is that, did that come from what you generated?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question where it says required, Vicky?
The other screen that you were on, the test.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
Are you talking about the email or are you talking about the screen?
The email.
Okay, let me pull that up. Yeah, was this it?
Where it says like delete after 2 years expires, is that on your end or was that?
Oh
generated?
no, this is just the Cvent email retention policy. So that's the reason you
Okay.
see that. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that was generated from what you said.
No, that's just because I sent the email to myself, so that's the Cvent email retention policy, and that's what you were able to see.
Okay.
All right. The next tab within the menu options is website pages. You can have a forwarding page, you can have a manage profile page, or a sign up page as well in case you wanted to use any of these features. For example, a forwarding page can be used if you have a link within the email that I'm sorry, if somebody actually forwards the email, then they would go to a page that would allow them to do so, and it would have a default message added. Of course, you can edit this message as well if you'd like. You can redirect them to a URL instead if you want. That when the email is forwarded, you can have them redirect to a specific URL also, which can be typed in here. You can include a custom message from the planner side if required. When you do that, you can add a message here up to 150,000 characters. Or if you select no, then only the message from the person who forwards the email will be included when the email is forwarded. All right, so there are a few other settings within each of these pages. You've got okay, sorry about that. Contact fields. Now this message that you see on my screen comes up that because I did not click save and I directly navigated to a different tab. This will still save my changes, but it just lets me know that anytime I do this, my settings or my updates get saved, but I still go to the new tab. Now these fields will display and on the forwarded page, and you can select which fields are required versus optional. As you can see, first name, last name, and email are always required. You can't remove them, and you can't change them from required to optional. Any other fields that are added, standard or custom fields, you have the ability to delete them, or you can reorder any of the fields that you like by just simply dragging and dropping them from the reorder section. You can even show help text for any of these fields if that has been added. Of course, for address, for instance, there is help text added, so it is the checkbox is available to check. And when it says visible here, this simply means that it is a read-only field versus required, which means they need to fill it in before they complete the page. Presentation and display options allow you to set up some sort of instructions. If you'd like to include links within the instructions, then you can click on the HTML button, and you will see a similar screen come up the way it did before. All right, seems like, all right, there it is, where you're able to see the HTML editor and you can add all your text, click on insert, and hyperlink any text that you wanted to. In addition to that, there are some forwarding instructions. You want to display the header or not. What should the header label be? Forward this email, or you can change it to anything else you like. And you can even add some display text, which lets your invitees know that if they're forwarding the email, then yeah, you can display a message to them, which of course can be customized with the help of the HTML button. And there is a character limit of 10,000 characters for this text box. And over here, the message that is displayed at the top of the page has a character limit of 2,500 characters. The next tab within this forwarding page section is display options. Display option allows you to choose a theme. If you selected, I mean, if you enable the forwarding page, then you can select the theme for your forwarding page. You can select from the drop down right here, say all templates. And once you do that, the page automatically refreshes. You don't really see it because it's in a pop-up window, but you can simply click the theme that you like the most. You have the ability to change the button or the colors of the page. You don't, however, have the ability to move around elements or what the template looks like. What the page would look like. I mean, you can only edit the options that you see on this page. For instance, the content background, the website text color can be changed, the button text or the body content color can be changed. Apart from that, if you want to move around elements on that page, that option is not available. You can add a text in the header and the footer section as well, if you'd like. Which is of course HTML enabled. There's a character limit of 6,500 characters for each of these boxes. And then finally, the remaining two tabs that we have are alerts and reports. Alerts allow you to set up email alerts that you would like to receive. If it is a semi-private request, what you can do is you can include a link to the cVent login page. You can select whether the alert is active or not. You can add a name, give it a name, and add a reply to email address. And the subject line has been added by default, but you're able to change it. This only happens when someone has submitted a subscription request. So when we looked at the website pages, you could see a few options: manage profile page and sign up page. If someone signs up and they submit a request, then you can create an alert for that to be triggered to you, so you know who has submitted or who has added their information on the sign up page. All right, so when creating the alert, after you've selected the relevant settings, you've given it a name, added the reply to email. If that is absolutely necessary, or you could just add a no reply email as well. You can add a subject line, a message up to 2,500 characters. And of course, this can be associated to specific distribution lists, and you can select which users should receive this alert. If they're not a user, then you can simply select email address, type in their email address, and click on save. Multiple alerts can be created with the help of save and new. Or after you save and close out of this first alert, you can again go back to this screen and click on create email alert. Again, it's all really simple. Once you guys go into the system and you start testing these things yourself, you should be able to figure it out. In case you guys are not able to and you have questions, feel free to reach out to your admins, and the admins can come back to me with any questions you guys may have. The final tab within the e-marketing section is reports. You've got a list of standard reports that you can run. Once click tracking is enabled, then you can run the click tracking details report or clicks by email or clicks by URL report to view further details about how many emails were opened versus how many clicks from each email or which URL was clicked the most. You can get a report on campaigns as well. If you've created multiple campaigns, then you can get a summary on the campaign lists that you may have created. If you've associated distribution list to your campaign, then you can get distribution list details by running this report. You can get a summary as well. You have the ability to export the report into an Excel or a .csv format. And when you run the report, you will have the ability to add or remove certain fields that you would like included in the report. And then finally, we have certain details about two reports for the emails. There's the email details report and the email rate summary. The email rate summary report will show you how many emails were opened versus how many were delivered and undelivered. So when you click on it, just wait for the report to run. You can select any additional fields that you would like apart from the ones that are already included, and then click on run. Oh, and of course, before you run the report, you need to select which email you want this report for. So if you know the title of your email, type in the title, click on search, select the email, and click on add. Once that is done, click run. And you'll be able to see that the email that's titled test email for Michigan Great Lakes, it's not associated to any campaign. There were 2 emails sent, 0 undelivered. Both the emails were open with 100% open rate. All right, so this was the email rate summary report. And if you need additional information about the emails that are sent out, you can run the email details report. Again, you need to select which email you'd like to run this report for before you click run. Wait for the report to load. Well, there's only 2 emails sent. It shouldn't be taking so much time. Well, while we are on the screen, in case you run a report that's taking time to complete, do you see this little link here? You can queue your report and return to your report list page and start looking at other reports. Once the report is ready, once you queue it, you will receive a notification that your report is ready and you should be able to go back and see it. Now, once the report loads up, you can expand the various sections within the email to see who the email was sent to, what was the send date and time. It will show you an exact date and time of the email that was sent out, the sender's email address, and whether it is active or not. So that's about it from reports as well. I've completed a brief overview of the e-marketing section. Of course, just one last thing I'd like to cover is that if you run a report and you save it, you should be able to access those reports from the Saved Reports tab. Since there are no saved reports at the moment, this section is blank, but any reports that you run and save within the e-marketing section will be visible under the Saved Reports tab. All right, do you guys have any questions for me? Okay, guess not. Well, there was one question that was received in advance, and that was if we are able to add a widget to the emails for playing a YouTube video. The complete question says, our monthly president's message is a recorded video each month. Can we run reports on bounce backs and successfully delivered opened? So I guess I've covered the second part of that question. And as far as adding a widget to the emails for playing a YouTube video is concerned, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to do that. However, what you could do is you can add a thumbnail as an image of the video within your email body content. And you can hyperlink that you can hyperlink that image to a web version of the video. If your video is uploaded to any of the web portals such as YouTube or Facebook or Vimeo or Wistia, then you can simply copy the URL of that video and hyperlink it to a thumbnail of the video image that can be added to your email. So although we're not able to add a widget to display the video directly within the email or render it within the email directly, but you are able to use this technique by using a thumbnail, hyperlinking it to the video. So when someone clicks on it, a new tab opens up and they should be able to see the video within their browser. All right, and that was all the questions I had. If you would like, I can actually go over the questions that I received from the previous training as well, unless you guys have specific questions I can cover. All right, well, I guess nobody has any questions. So Erica, in the interest of time, I see that we're almost at a close. The questions that I had in my PowerPoint slide, I've actually sent them to you via email previously. So if you'd like, I can forward that email to you once again, or if you have that email, you could simply just forward it to the rest of the group, and they can see what questions were asked in previous sessions, and they can go through the answers as well.
Sure. We actually have all of those questions posted on the community. So you can.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep. So you can pull all of those questions with the answers right there, along with the previous recording of the e-marketing training. And then this recording will also be up on our community setting as well, in case you want any of your members, board members, to be able to see it as well. Okay. Is there any other additional questions while we have Patrick available? All right. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining. Thank you all for joining. We hope that you found this beneficial. And if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your member experience team, and we can be reached at chapters@hfma.org.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Erica. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.